Brian Lara used pot plants to work on his placement. John Wright glued his glove to his bat. Sachin Tendulkar dug up practice pitches. Tatenda Taibu cut the top off his bat. Claire Taylor used a hockey grip. Steve Smith was from tennis. Dean Jones would call phantom runs. And Victor Trumper turned the nets into a war zone to survive. The best batters in the world do whatever they have to make runs. We have told their stories in our new book, The Art of Batting.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 74 of the Crickpicks podcast. I'm Behram who you can find at DefMango on Twitter. And with me this time is Varun Alvaconda, who you can find nowhere. And then we've got Jarrod once again back on the show, who you can find literally everywhere. And just a quick briefing on what the show is about. If you're new to Crickpicks, what we do here is that we take any generic cricket category and we draft our top 5 each for that category in a snake-style draft competition, which basically means that the pick order goes 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. And sometimes what we do is that we combine to create teams of 12. And today is going to be a similar sort of occasion because we have a very, very fascinating task at hand. We have to create an all-time small sample size test team. Now, Jarrod, just to give you a bit of a recap, Varun and Shayan came up with this. And the rules are basically that the batters can't have scored 5,000 test runs. So it has to be less than 5,000 test runs and less than 150 wickets for the bowlers. And Varun, Shayan and I were really excited about this.
What about the all-rounders?
They have to fit both criteria.
Both, right? Yeah.
Yes. So it's not that easy. But it's interesting how the three of us were really excited for this. And then I did my research and I was like, this is turning out to be a prehistoric team and we have to have Jarrod for this. Like, it would be unfair on you to not have you on this. And weirdly enough, you've also landed first pick. So
I have landed first pick and I'm just going to let Behram say what my first pick is so we can all move on.
WG Grace, is it?
Let's go with WG Grace. I don't think there's anyone else it can be, right? Like he is one of the greatest players of all time. And how many test runs did he make? Was it 2,000? I don't even think he made that many. Was it 1,500?
It's like 1,000, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 1,000 something.
1,098. And does he take wickets? He took 9 wickets at 26 as well. Of course he did.
Yeah.
No, I thought there was another English batter you could have gone for. No?
Yeah. I had him on my list as well, but I knew he was going to go for WG Grace.
There are other players that you could go for, but I think that if you consider the all-round skill that he also had, he's probably the best low sample size player how many wickets do you think he got in first class cricket? If one of you just had to guess off the top of your head.
1,098?
1,098 would be good. What did you say, Varun?
I said 1,000.
Yeah, he got 2,809 first class wickets.
Damn.
So I think if he'd bowled more in Test cricket, I'm not saying he was ever going to be a frontline bowler, but he could have been a pretty good 5th or 6th bowler. He probably still would have taken more wickets. Well. Yeah, and he was in his late 30s basically when he's playing in Test cricket. So, he's also very high up in a book that some people might say is out at the moment, but
which you guys should go buy. And it's interesting. I knew you were going to say WG Grace, but there is a bit of a caveat over here. Yes, he's low sample size in Test cricket, but he preferred to play as an amateur. So, I mean, the actual sample size of his professional, or not professional, but top-tier career is quite high.
Yeah, so what did he play? 870 first-class games he played.
Yeah.
So he certainly played a lot of cricket. I think in Test cricket we have a low sample size, but yeah, I think he deserves to go first in this one. You can make arguments for other people, but he was very good at cricket.
What is he, averaging 32 with the bat in an era in Test cricket where no one got close to that? Something
I think
like
we
that, right?
had him as something like 60% better than the other top order batters in the 1880s, if I remember correctly. And he's marginally better in the 1890s. So his numbers stand up no matter how you look at it. He was a lot. In the 1890s, he was like almost 50.
Yeah. Okay, then that's first pick done. And I have the next pick. And my first pick is going to be someone who Varun picked first in the previous podcast. I will go for Andy Flower. And he just made it very, very nearly missed out. 4,794 test runs in 63 games. And his average is 51.54, which is ridiculous for a wicketkeeper. He has 1200s and 27 50s to his name. And not only can he keep wicket, but he can slot in that number 5 position. He's a terrific player of spin, a master of the sweep shot. And he'd probably get into most all-time test 11s, I would feel, just like whatever sort of parameters you have.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, he has to be probably the best wicketkeeper, I would say. Well, in the art, he's the only specialist wicketkeeper in the art of batting, right? Because everyone else stops keeping at a certain point. So it's really depending on what you want with your player, whether you want Flower or whether you want Gilchrist. Have you guys, I don't know if you've heard this, but I did a small video about him last week based on the Wigmore book. By the way, we're really trying to get Wigrod up, like as a Barbenheimer. Yeah. So if you can all use Wigrod when you're talking about my book or Tim's, that's good. But in Tim's book, he talks to Andy Flower about the fact that Andy Flower made his own homemade tapes and he would listen to them on a Walkman. And on that Walkman, he would go on and on about how he could make the ball go slower. That was one of the things he told himself, which I love. I don't know if that sort of stuff works or not, but it's very Andy Flower. And if you've ever heard Andy Flower talk, the idea of Andy Flower talking to himself is actually terrifying because he has a very weird voice. I hope he didn't freak himself out too much.
Yeah, also, I think his entry point was like 25 or something as a number 5. You had to try really hard to have that entry point as in the 2000s as a number 5. Because I think Inzi and like VVS for like 35, 40 or something.
When you say entry point, what do you mean? Sorry,
the median
overs,
entry point, sorry, overs. Yeah.
Oh, but like the score is 60 odd for 3, isn't it? When he comes out to bat.
Yeah.
He basically came out when the game was Zimbabwe had done nothing, but the ball was a little bit soft, but there were no runs on the board to help him.
It's a paceling pandemic entry point, by the way. That.
Yeah.
Also, just on Wigrod, I think Jarmore is a better.
I was actually about to say Jarmore's this son. I was just thinking that.
We're Team Wigrod.
Anyway, so we've got WG Grace and Andy Flower as the first 2 picks, and now it's Varun's turn to pick his first player. Let's see where he goes.
My strategy for this team was very simple. I just went through the list and found batters who made less than 5,000 runs. I was like, Jarrod did all the research. So Jarrod did all the research. I'm not going to use my own brain. I got Herbert Sutcliffe as my first pick.
Yeah. No. Very good as well. I think if we're doing cricketers, I think Gray still goes ahead of him because of the captaincy and because of the bowling. But Herbert Sutcliffe, I don't know if there's ever been a player who's really been more overlooked and as great as Herbert Sutcliffe. Like, what's his actual batting average?
He is averaging 60.73, and 60.73
match factor of 1.6.
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of research on him, and he has the best batting average for an opener in Test cricket ever. And his batting average is the 6th best of all time overall as well. It might even end up as 5th if Kamindu Mendes, experiences a slump.
Which is pretty likely. I mean, there's a couple of issues with him. One is he doesn't actually play a very long career, so it is a much shorter career than everyone else. But the match factor is really interesting because he had Hobbs and Hammond in his side. He really has no reason to be as good as he was. And to outshine Hobbs for a big period of time is also pretty good. So absolutely fantastic. There's also that great photo of him with some kind of ferret or possum or something on his shoulder.
You always mention it. Every single time without fail. Also, he's not the only Bert Sutcliffe out there. There's another dude with the same name who played for New Zealand, which is another fact that I love. But overall,
who's named after him, by the way.
Oh, I did not know that.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that the New Zealand one is named after him.
Yeah, the record though is
1.3 compared to England, by the way, in the same games.
Oh, okay. Well,
so he's still 30% better than the other guys.
30% better than the likes of Hobbs and Hammond. But I mean, if you look at the record, right, 4,555 runs in just 54 Test matches with that batting average of 60.73, and I mean, 16 tons and 23 50s also checks out, and you could make a case that he could be like opening the batting in an all-time Test team as is without the parameters as well.
Yeah, no, agreed. He's very high up on anyone's list, I think.
Yeah. All right, then, Varun, you've got another pick.
George Headley. That's the number 3.
Oh, man, you stole mine. I really wanted to do Headley because I just know so much about him because we did a whole footmarks on him.
Yeah.
So we were talking about match factors, right? Compared to his own team, he was 2.24 times better.
Wow.
So he's basically, compared to the other West Indian batters, he is Bradman. But remember, a lot of those West Indian batters were picked because of the colour of their skin and not their talents. So I think if not to want to refer to Wigrod again, but if you go back to Wigmore's book, he does a lot of stats about how bad the West Indian white players were, the white batters specifically were. So I think if you take that into account, it's kind of like his numbers probably look better because of how bad his team was. But he was also very good compared to the opposition players, I would assume, as well, Varun.
Yeah. I mean, he was known as the Black Bradman, right? And at that point, he was probably like one of the few cricketers who was like right below that Bradman level, I suppose, because obviously when you've got the Don playing, it's difficult. But, just played 22 test matches, which is unfortunate. It's tragic, really. 2,190 runs at an average of 60.83, which is the best batting average of all time. 10 tons, 550s. And Jarrod, you always mentioned that he wasn't the same guy post-World War II, right?
Yeah.
He was struggling for runs in his last 3 test matches. And then he was the first West Indian great as well. But the one thing that I really loved from your chapter, the West Indies chapter from Overthrowing Cricket's Empire, was the fact that Headley was this evil genius who just knew his zones really well, and he would make fast bowlers run harder by hitting the ball towards them, and he would smash the ball right back at spinners to injure them. Like, this is proper like mad scientist level evil genius.
So I did a radio interview the other day with Paul Ross, who's like quite a well-known presenter in the UK, and like when you do stuff that's not for cricket, you can imagine generally they just want to talk about Sachin and Bradman and Brute and that. And he was just like, I need to know everything about George Headley. He's like, I've read this book, I can't believe it. Like, I've never heard of this guy before. So once you tell a casual person that story, they're all like, wait, what? Is this even possible? And when I tell players this, current players are like, this, you can't do this, Jarrod. What he did is impossible. And I'm like, there are so many stories of him doing this. It's not like a one-off. It's not like Will Chamberlain's 100-point game. It's really consistent all the way through. He's also got one of the best lines in cricket history when every time a player would go out, he would basically say the same thing all the time, which is, why would he do that? Which I just love. Just like, well, I don't understand.
He would say it in a different... He would say it in a different way because he grew up in Panama, I remember, and his first language was Spanish. So his English was kind of broken, which made that even more like.
I think he had broken. I think he not only did he have broken English, I think he had broken patois, right? Because I think it was a combination of it would have been Jamaican patois with little bits of Spanish speaking as well. So he's a fascinating dude. There's no doubt about that. And just to remember that he also had a grandson who played Test cricket. Like that bloodline completely held up.
Yeah, and I mean. As you mentioned, he did not appreciate it when batters would get out to stupid shots. But I actually dug up some more numbers on Headley. At number 3, he scores 2,064 runs. So that's like, 98% of his runs or something? Or even more. And his average at number 3 is 71.17.
Yeah.
So it's even better, right? And just 1 out of his 15 50-plus scores came at a different batting position. So he really just slots in at 3 perfectly.
No, agreed. He was very good at cricket.
Yeah. Also, I despise you, Varun, for taking this pick. I actually am shocked that you've gone for 2 batters. Literally. Like, the guy who is a fast bowling merchant has gone for 2 batters. In the top 3.
Yeah. Mainly because bowling is... I'm more shaky on the bowlers in this team.
I thought he was... I think it's mainly because like he's actually got the numbers on the... from the art of batting, and he's just going through it going, this guy...
It's such an easy list, right?
Yeah, it's so much easier. It is. It really is.
Yeah, it's also fascinating that none of us have gone for a bowler thus far. But let's see if I go for one in my next pick. But before that, we shall be taking a short break. You guys are watching Crickpicks with Behram, Jarrod and Varun, and we'll be back with you in like 30 seconds or so. So go nowhere.
As a cricket journalist, I would travel sometimes up to 200 days a year. I loved watching cricket games. I loved going to new countries. It was an absolute dream. But there was one thing I hated more than anything else about it, and it was this little PIN. The thing that I need to change my SIM card in every new country. The absolute worst thing about this PIN and SIM cards is when I was traveling to the West Indies, of having to arrive in every new island or country and having to work out if I could still find this PIN and then line up and get my SIM card in every single airport. Well, now we have the answer thanks to Saily. They can make it so you never have to worry about this nonsense ever again. They use an eSIM app that once you install once, it is easy, simple, and cheap. Oh, and it works in more than 160 countries. And you can throw these pins away forever, because now you just need to download the Saily app before your trip. And if you do it with our code, Good Areas, you get an exclusive 15% discount on Saily eSIM data plans. So before your next holiday or work trip or any time you have to travel to another country, download the Saily app and use the code Good Areas, or one word, at checkout, and you can travel like a pro with Saily.
Welcome back to the Crickpicks podcast. You guys are with Behram, Jarrod, and Varun, and we are creating an all-time small sample size test team. Thus far, we've got WG Grace opening the batting with Herbert Sutcliffe. Then we've got George Headley at first drop and Andy Flowers keeping wicket. It's back to me. So second pick for me is going to be a bowler, in fact. I'm going to tell whatever I know about this guy, Jarrod, through my research, and then I want you to take over. My pick is George Lohmann. It's a terrific record. 112 wickets in 18 test matches at an average of 10.75. So less than 11 apiece is how he gets his wickets. And that is the best bowling average in the history of test cricket. It gets better. His strike rate of 34.19 is also the best strike rate in the history of Test cricket. And he also has a Test match 50, unbeaten on 62, right? In that knock. Now,
I don't think he made any runs outside of that knock, though, if I'm not mistaken. I think that might have been the highlight of his batting career.
Yeah. So I was really fascinated. I even messaged Jarrod that Spofford the Lohmann, who's your pick? And he said Lohmann. And based on all of my research, what I was able to kind of figure out about the guy is that he was able to seam the ball in either direction off the deck, of course. He had metronomic accuracy. And Jarrod, I want you to really kind of shed light on this, because it also said that he had variations, and that kind of tells me that he's a Sid Barnes type of bowler, where you can't tell if he's a swing bowler or a seam bowler or a spinner. Is that the case?
I think most of the early bowlers are actually probably mixture bowlers. So Spofford was thought of as the king of swing, and I'm sure he invented it. But if you listen to him talk about it, he basically sounds more like a spinner. So I think there is that. And if you had multiple, most people probably just bowled the ball dead straight and then hoped to hit something off the wicket. We know in Spofford and Lohmann's case that they were trying to do something quite different. What they were doing, we're never going to know, right? That's the truth. Yeah. Unfortunately, cricket wasn't really reported brilliantly. And there's a lot of stuff written about batters. There isn't actually as much stuff written about bowlers because they were not posh. So we missed we know about Rangier and the bucket and all this sort of stuff, right? We don't actually know all that much about a lot of the tricks that the bowlers did. In fact, if Fred Spofford hadn't released a book, I don't think we'd know anything about early swing at all, right? Other than the fact that he bowled it. We just wouldn't know. So, yeah.
Is Spofford the guy who writes everything about Barnes as well? Because Barnes is the other guy I know who we can't tell if he's a spinner or a seamer, right? And I feel like Lohmann is kind of in that same category. No,
so Barnes comes a bit later than both of them. So Spofford is first, Lohmann is second. And my guess is that Lohmann, I'm not saying that he took the stuff from Spofford, but Spofford's probably built what modern bowling was about to become. Lohmann then adds to that with his period. And then Barnes is probably the perfection of all that. It's worth noting with Lohmann that there are a couple of other bowlers in his era with similar records.
Yeah.
And
I saw those guys as well.
And also his first class bowling average is higher than his test bowling average. So it maybe suggests a little bit that he got lucky. Do you know what his bowling average is against South Africa, Behram?
Is it 4?
It's 5.8. He took 35 wickets in 3 games. So again,
it doesn't inflate his numbers then.
Yeah. If you go back to Australia, he's still averaging 13. So it's not bad. But there was a few guys averaging around 13, and a lot of those guys didn't play against South Africa. So if you played against South Africa, you do have, and there's a couple of guys who did play against South Africa who have really good numbers. I still think he was great. I think he's underrated as a bowler because, as I said before, I think the batters got all the credit back then. And realistically, I still think he was the greatest bowler of his era by a distance. So definitely should be the first bowler to go here.
All right. Then.
Yeah, I think
Back
even
to you.
adjusted for era, he's got one of the best economy rates we've seen and one of the best strike rates, right?
Damn.
Yeah. As Behram said, I think as much as anything, it was his ability just to be really accurate in an era when repeatable bowling actions weren't really a thing. Like, I think if you look at Spofforth and Boyle, the two great Australian bowlers, you go back, they were both fast, but it's really the accuracy. They just never let anyone get away. And I think Lohmann is probably the next level beyond them. And there's as we said, there's a couple of other guys. All right, simple. Yeah. Everyone who has ever followed me on a podcast will know that the next player obviously has to be Aubrey Faulkner. There is no other option. He is the only player in the history of Test cricket to average more than 40 with the bat and under 30 with the ball. And if you've never heard me say that before, then you've never listened to one of my podcasts. He's a fascinating cricketer because he's very self-made, and unlike most great all-rounders, he's probably not as naturally gifted as some of the other players, as some of the other great all-rounders. But athletically, he was very, like, early in his career, he was thought to be an incredible athlete in an era when we didn't really talk about stuff like that. His athleticism is talked about quite a bit. Quite a proper sort of callous Brian McMillan type guy, very broad, very strong. Accidental leg spinner. His friend happens to know someone who can bowl the wrong end. He ends up bowling the wrong end. But he gets very good at leg spin and is probably I would say he's the best spinner of the four leggies out of South Africa. But also goes on to be a great bat. What's interesting about him is he kind of bats incredibly in Australia and bowls incredibly in England. And he doesn't quite combine the two, if that makes sense. But I think if World War I doesn't come along, he probably would be up there with that sort of, Imran Khan, Gufford Sobers, Darks Callis level of all-rounder. He just, unfortunately, misses quite a few years. And when he comes back to play, when he's very old and very fat and everything else. But also was a great coach. So...
we get a wrist spinner out of Aubrey Faulkner, which is very, very handy in this team, right?
Is this a team?
This is a team.
Okay. I didn't know this was a team. I thought we were just 15 players. Okay.
It makes sense thus far. Also, what is his record? How close was he to missing out?
Oh, no. I think he takes 60-odd wickets, is it? It's not a lot.
I think 80-something.
Is it 80? Yeah. And he wouldn't have made a lot of runs. He would have made, a couple of thousand runs, I would have thought?
1754 runs and 82 wickets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So only 25 matches. So sadly, but 400s.
There's a flag bearer of low sample size.
He is, yeah. Two double hundreds in, double hundred against Australia, in Australia, I think. And he also took, I'm just trying to find his best figures. I can't find it. I think he takes 6 for 17 in England at one stage as well. There aren't many cricketers in
history.
He's
a part of that team. He's a part of that South African team who, with the 4, what was it, leg spinners from the apocalypse, something like that, who down England for the first time. Reggie Schwartz, Vogler, is it?
Yeah, Bert Vogler and Gordon White.
Yeah.
Look, and he's the best player. He's the best player in that team. He's the best player for South Africa, really, until the late 1960s. And they had some fantastic other players as well, but he's just head and shoulders above everyone else. And I need to pick one more. So we don't have many bowlers, do we?
No.
You can pick the guy with the bowling action on your cap.
I could pick him, actually. That's incredibly low sample size, though, then at that point. We're going on the other end. I wonder if we don't need a modern bowler here. And I think you have, if we're going to go modern bowlers, I think you've probably got a couple of options. I'm not going to go with someone who's still in the middle of their career. So I'll get rid of all the guys we're going at the moment. I think I will go Shane Bond.
He was my pick. Lovely.
Well.
So I got a couple of other modern bowlers that are not far off as well. But I think Shane Bond is probably the one who, I think we know how great Shane Bond was from what we saw, but we never quite saw enough of it. So very, very fast, pretty accurate for a fast bowler of that era. But his ability to get, sort of vertical bounce, to get sideways movement, very different kind of bowler. It's kind of like I'm trying to think of, he's almost like a kind of
Like for Jofra?
No, I was wondering if he's more like a raw version of Nokia, perhaps.
A raw version of Nokia?
Yeah.
Look,
so
when
Nokia is quite
Bond's,
straight lines now, but
yeah. But when you look at Bond's action, it is an exquisite action. But that action takes everything out of his body, right? That's why his career is marred by injuries as well. So it's a bit different.
Yeah,
it's like his entire back goes into the action.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost a combination of maybe it's a slightly more accurate Mark Wood. I don't know. He's a weird one, but he was a fantastic bowler. Anyone who saw him, he really was.
I just think wasn't he more skillful than them, though? That's what I'm thinking.
That's what I'm saying. I think he's more skillful, but he won't. I think he got more lateral movement than Nokia or Wood. And as I said, he was more raw. And by raw, what I really mean is that I'm not always sure that, even though he had the skills, I'm not always sure that Bond... Fast bowlers are a lot more knowing now, if that makes sense. Whereas that era of fast bowlers, he's probably up there with Sean Tate and Shoaib Akhtar, right? But with more skills. And that's the difference that he had. But he could also fire 2 balls in a row down the leg side. Like, he still had that within him, right? And that, that whole era. I know
what you mean, though.
Yeah. And so if you think of someone like Nokia really doesn't bowl many bad balls. And even Wood doesn't bowl that many bad balls. But neither of them quite has the skill level that Bond had.
Okay. I mean, I had him as well. So this has happened twice to me now. Varun stole Headley from me. Jarrod steals Shane Bond from me. And Bond, I would say he's a millionaire version of both of those guys, Nokia and Wood. 87 wickets in 18 test matches at 22 apiece is ridiculous. His strike rate of 38.75, by the way, is the 6th best bowling strike rate in the history of test cricket. And I mean, he was blistering quick. So I know there are a lot of other guys from like pre-1900 who could get into this team, but Bond we've all seen, and he was visceral, and you just love that bowling action as well. Anyway.
Just set for there, I have him as the best strike rate.
Oh, okay. Well, there you have it.
Yeah.
All right. So
Ever?
For like 50 wickets minimum, by the way.
Yeah.
Damn. That's insane. Also, Lohmann is kind of like a medium pacer, so we need to pair him up with an express quick. So.
I don't know if Lohmann was a medium pacer for his era. I don't think people enjoyed facing George Lohmann. But no, you're right. He's a lot quicker.
Yeah. Anyway, back to me then, and we don't have a number 4. So I think...
Do you want me to give you the list?
No, I have a number 4 down. I'm going to go with Graeme Pollock as my third pick.
He's my number 4 as well.
Yeah. He's got 2,256 runs in 23 test matches at an astronomical batting average of 60.97. So he has the 4th best batting average of all time, which could be 3rd whenever Kamindu slips. And he's also got 700s and 1150s to his name. All of these come at number 4, if I'm not wrong. He scored 2,065 runs in 23 tests at that position at 62.57. So 700s and 850s come at number 4. Just 350s outside of that batting position. And he's the uncle of Sean Pollock. That's all I really know. If you guys want to, or Jarrod wants to add something, I suppose, here's your cue.
Probably outside of Hammond, maybe one of the first really, really big batters. Clive Lloyd maybe comes just after Graeme Pollock. And I mean, a big, powerful. Obviously, we had some overweight batters and everything else, but this was probably when, and you look at his family, you talk about it, his nephew being Sean Pollock, but also his brother was Peter Pollock, right? So clearly a gifted athletic family would be... I remember I looked this up once, and I think you'd love this one, Varun. You can gerrymander the averages depending on how many games you want to pick, but you can make an argument that they have the highest batting averages at number 4, number 9, number 10 as a family. I think that's right. Like, because Peter Pollock was at number 10, Sean Pollock occasionally batted number 9 and had a huge batting average, and obviously Graeme had the best one for number 4 or whatever it was. I can't remember the full numbers, but that's a pretty gifted, natural family, I think it's fair to say. But he was a big, powerful guy. But when you go back and you look at it, one of the things that the Australians specifically talked about when bowling to Pollock was just his ability to pick gaps. And I remember this line. It's such a great line. I think it was Paul Sheehan, who's a very good cricketer himself from Australia, who said that like you couldn't set a field to him because it was like he took a set square out there. So if he wanted to hit the ball on the offside, right, you could have like, a cover point, a point, and a backward point, and he's still picking the gap. And that was his big thing. Ian Chappell told me maybe not. He didn't like playing the hook shot as much, so you could slow him down if you bounced him, but you couldn't really get him out. That was what Chappell told me. There wasn't really a weakness to his batting. Again, I don't know if we know how good he was. His first class average is about 55, but he does play on for a very, very long time. My guess is he probably would have been one of the greatest test batters of all time if he plays 70, 80 test matches, which is a fairly normal amount for someone of his talent in that era. And unfortunately, we just don't know. But lots of people, if you talk to people who saw him, most of them have him in the top 10 best batters they ever saw.
I first read of him in that book that I gifted Eek recently. He's in the book, right? And that's exactly what that author also said, who is dead now. You told me a lot about that dude as well. But yeah, everyone... Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Everyone basically who has watched him play or whatever makes that same claim that could have been one of the best ever had he went on to play more. Anyway, back to Varun then for 2 picks. But before that, we have to take a short break. You guys are watching Crickpicks with Behram, Jarrod and Varun, and we'll be back very, very shortly, so go nowhere.
Want to have live chats with me or just connect with other cricket fans on Discord that also enjoy my content? Or a few AMAs. Maybe you want early podcast episodes or ad-free content or want to receive my emailer. You can get all of this on our Patreon, plus a little bit of behind-the-scenes stuff as well. Huge thanks to everyone who has supported us on Patreon so far. You are all part of this channel's success.
Welcome back to Crickpicks. You guys are with Jarrod, Behram and Varun. And so in our all-time small sample size test team, we've got our top 6, don't we, Jarrod? If you could just go through the team and help Varun out, because he's got 2 picks.
It depends. we can play with it a little bit. I've got Grace, Sutcliffe, Headley, and Pollock as 1 through 4. You can put Flower at 5, but I've got Flower at 6 and Faulkner at 7. But we can also move that around and have Flower at 5 and Faulkner at 6 if you wanted to. And then we have the 2 bowlers at the other end, George Lohmann and Shane Bond.
Alrighty. So, Varun, are you finally going to go for a fast bowler then?
I probably am, because I honestly I did not know who to pick for the other batter in the top 7. So I got nothing there. So I don't even know if this bowler belongs here. I'm going Mohammad Asif.
Oh, nice one. Hot pick, but anyone who's watched him play will understand.
He was on my short list.
The pioneer of the wobble ball, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, yes, you could say that.
Yeah. Well, he's certainly the guy that it basically made it popular. It was Jimmy Anderson who took it, and then but Mohammad Asif was there. But
based on what I know, Jarrod, and this is also based off of our conversations, is that, I mean, Courtney Walsh and those guys would bowl the wobble seam but didn't really know what they were doing. Asif is the first guy who kind of knew what he was doing, and then Stuart Clark picked it up from Mohammad Asif, and then Jimmy Anderson goes on to make it mainstream.
Yeah, he kind of takes it from both of them, doesn't he? He has a look at both of them.
He masters the art.
Yeah. So, look, Mohammad Asif, I almost went with him ahead of Shane Bond. What was his bowling average, Varun?
I think it was like 24 from memory.
I'd be interested to know what his match ratio is, because he bowled on a lot of very flat wickets for someone who's ended up with a bowling average of 24. I think he's the most...
I don't think he was ever good in Pakistan. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
Well, he was good in that test match versus
match
India, but if you...
1.26.
1.26, yeah.
Oh, that's 26% better.
Yeah, he was unplayable, I think, at his best. I think he's the most skillful fast bowler I've ever seen bowl.
Damn. Yeah, I mean, him and Jimmy are the 2 guys who I feel they really knew where the wobble seam delivery would seam towards or what direction. Because you don't really know what way it's going to deviate. But, I mean, I watched his entire career. He made all of us feel things. It's very, very tragic that he goes on to be a corrupt person, right? And throws away a career which really could have been something special. What are the overall numbers, Varun?
He took 106 wickets in 23 matches. Bowling average of 24.3 and a strike rate of 49, which is very good.
Yeah. No, and Kevin Peterson couldn't play him. A bunch of other guys. I know AB really struggled versus him. And all of these guys...
I think Amla was saying he was a magician as well.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So when you ask AB, Amla, KP, who the toughest bowler was that they faced, a lot of these guys, I think all 3 of those guys named Mohammad Asif.
Yep.
Okay. So we've got a pretty tidy bowling attack, don't we? Quite neat.
What's the bowling attack?
Bond, Lohmann, and Asif.
And Faulkner.
That's a decent...
Oh, yeah.
And
Faulkner as well.
And
With
Faulkner.
W.G. Grace's little donkey drops as well.
Okay.
RSS spin is where I'm completely unsure of this pick. I just know him because I remember Jarrod mentioning him once. Like a Hugh Trumble. I don't know if he's
okay.
Interesting. So I thought you might have gone... I thought you would have gone for Bert Ironmonger.
I thought you might have gone for Bill O'Reilly. That's who I would have gone for.
Yeah, but we didn't need Tiger.
Bill O'Reilly, yeah.
We didn't need Tiger Bill O'Reilly. We have Faulkner.
Yeah, right? But they were different kinds of leg spinners. And if you think about it, Bill O'Reilly actually did play with another leg spinner who probably bowled more like Faulkner. But either way, Hugh Trumble is also great. Has a cafe in the MCG. 2 test hat-tricks, I want to say, Varun, off the top of my head. And he probably is.
Could not tell you.
Yeah. He probably is the most underrated great early bowler. I think because they were so obsessed with all the fast bowlers, right? Because that was the era when fast bowling was starting, and you had, Tom Richardson and Lohmann and Barnes and Sutcliffe and all these guys coming through, that you probably weren't as fascinated with the finger spinner. And then the wrist spinners come straight after, right? So I think he gets ignored in a way. It is funny when he's compared to, when they call Nathan Lyon the GOAT, right? And it's and the joke is that he's the greatest finger spinner Australia's ever had. But he's not even the greatest finger spinner Australia's ever had, because Hugh Trumble's actually still better.
Yeah, I mean, I had both of Bert Ironmonger and this guy called Bobby Peel ahead of him. Have you looked at Bobby Peel's record? It's insane.
Bobby Peel was a very, very good bowler as well. And he probably also, what would he have been? He would have been one of those guys that would have been in the Lohmann era. Is that right?
Probably, yeah.
I'm trying to think of when he started playing. 1884. Yeah, so he would have been Lohmann era as well. But yeah, another absolutely fantastic bowler. But if you look at Bobby Peel's record outside of tests, right? He averages almost 20. So it doesn't stand up the same way that someone like Lohmann's does. I'm not saying that it's possible he just got lucky on a bunch of wet wickets. Because when he plays in England, he plays 6 matches in England and takes... Oh, wait, I've got the wrong... Let me get all that again. Bobby Peel plays 6 matches in England with a bowling average of 9.39. Wow. When he plays in Australia, he has a bowling average of 21.55. So I wonder if he just played on some dodgy wickets in England or got the best of the weather. But still, it's a fantastic record. But he's not in the list, so why are we talking about him?
Yeah, well, Trumble goes on to take 141 test wickets in 32 test matches at 21.78. So it is a larger sample size than Bobby Peel. So I suppose it checks out. And we've got a leg spinner and a right arm off spinner. So we are turning the ball in either direction as well. So what's the team looking like, Jarrod, before I make my next pick? Because I need some info.
W.G. Grace, Herbert Sutcliffe, George Headley, Graeme Pollock, Andy Flower, Aubrey Faulkner, Mohammad Asif, George Lohmann, Shane Bond, Hugh Trumble.
Okay, so we need a seam bowling all-rounder or a batter, basically.
Yes.
Right? So I got nothing when it comes to seam bowling all-rounders. I do have one guy who I know nothing about, so maybe you'll take him. I'm going to give us a batter, which is going to be a very, very... controversial pick, perhaps. You guys might hate me for it. But this guy's record at number 6 is fantastic. So I think Faulkner could potentially move down to 7. Or, Jarrod, you could just pick a good seam bowling all-rounder and we can chuck this guy to 12th man. I'm fine with that as well. My final pick of the day is Damien Martyn.
Okay.
4,406 runs in 67 test matches at an average or batting average of 46.37. He's got 1,300s and 2350s as well. And so 1/4 of his runs come at number 6. His batting average at number 6 is 48.39. He's scored 400s and 650s in that position. And he's someone who I really admired growing up. I thought he was really unsung or wasn't really appreciated enough. Right-hand batter whose drives for check shots. That's basically it with Damien Martyn, right? And in ODIs, he goes on.
Good batter in an all-time great team, right? That's why he doesn't stand out.
Yeah, I suppose
so. Also a great batting era, right? Like it is. He does get a bit of a... Also, he did play some good tests.
How much of the number 6 is just the classic Aussie thing of just chucking the rookie there?
Also, how much of the number 6 thing is him not facing enough of the new ball? I get all of that. I understand it. But I had one name for seam bowling all-rounder, and I knew nothing about the guy. So I thought, hope maybe Jarrod will take him, and I'll take Marto.
You picked a batter, so I can go through a couple of batters here. You didn't think that it was worth looking at Walcott, Worrell, or Weeks in this particular position?
I wasn't sure where we'd bat them. Also, my team already was like, okay, well.
I think Worrell could bat at 5 or 6 pretty easily. Like that's pretty much where he came in.
Yeah, well, now it's done.
Vijay Hazar. Anyway, okay. All right, so you said an all-rounder before.
I do have one. Yeah, he's a seam bowling all-rounder. I can give you like info on him. He's from the same Lohmann era, right?
Okay.
He's another Billy.
I had a South African.
He played for Nottinghamshire, and what else do I tell you? This is tough, right? He's taken 51 wickets in Test cricket and 725 runs he scored. So he could potentially make it to our team. I just don't know anything about this guy.
I'm just trying to see.
I had an all-rounder from South Africa in the shortlist.
I should know who you're both talking about there, but I can't think. There's George Giffen as well, the Australian captain, who basically batted and bowled. I don't think his batting's quite good enough. You had a South African in your list there. So it wouldn't be... Oh, okay. All right, let me have a look at this guy's record just very quickly, because we now need to fill a spot, so I now need to see if my players are good enough. So I think you could bat Trevor Goddard at number 7 behind Aubrey Faulkner. If you wanted to.
That's what I was thinking of, but he was an opener, so I'm like, I didn't know if it made sense to bat him at 7.
I think he batted everywhere, mate, didn't he?
I remember seeing he's mainly an opener.
Yeah, no, you're right. He was mainly an opener. That's a pain in the ass. Okay. Because you need someone who can...
No, you could just go for it, Saltman Jarrod.
We need like someone to bowl the dog openers, Jarrod. Right.
You already have Faulkner. Why do you need
not the important openers? Well, I would like a 4th seamer, but again.
How many seamers do we have? How many seamers do we actually have in the list?
We have 3.
Bond, Lohmann, and Asif.
You could go for another specialist seamer, and we don't play Trumble.
I'll give you some flexibility then. I tell you what, let's give the team a little bit more flexibility, and I think we can go with. Let's go with Jimmy Sinclair.
I like that pick.
Jimmy Sinclair, 25 Test matches, 63 wickets at 31, 300s at an average of 23, but was basically just a wild slogger. But gives you, if you want some batting at number 8, and you've already got the flexibility of having Faulkner up the order. So Faulkner can be the 4th bowler, and Sinclair can play as a very good version of like what Sam Curran should be, right? In fact, he's kind of like Ben Stokes' bowling.
Is he the Shardul Thakur of his era?
Well, Jimmy Sinclair is a part of that team as well, which defeats England all those years back, the South African team, right? He's
probably
teammate?
averages 21 versus England and 60 versus Australia. That's a bit concerning.
it's not ideal. I think he was a fantastic player who, I just want to have a look. When did he play his first Test match? 1896. Yeah, so he has a really long career, but doesn't play a lot of games. Let me have a look at his first class record. Yeah, I'm throwing Jimmy Sinclair. I don't care. Only because
that's less than 3 wickets a game, though, isn't it?
We don't need him to bowl the bulk of the overs anyway.
That's what I said, though.
Yeah, I need number 8, that thing.
Yeah, but it's what? Okay, the problem is, I can pick Goddard, but you've just said that Goddard can't bat down the order.
No, you don't need to pick Goddard. As I said, you could pick another specialist seamer.
But if you're going to have a specialist seamer, you need to have someone who can bat a little bit.
Why?
So, hey, why? Because we have 3 specialist seamers at the moment who cannot bat at all.
And Trumble can't really bat either.
It's the job of the batters to bat, Jarrod.
I know, but I'm saying, because I think we need just a little... let me just have a look if there's anyone else on the list from the bowling point of view who can actually...
If we have an Aubrey Faulkner as the number 7, averaging 40, do you need someone at number 8 who can bat?
You want someone who can hold the bat, so you've got flexibility within your batting lineup.
Also,
Otherwise,
if
you've got no
Damien Martyn,
flexibility.
if Damien Martyn doesn't play, then Faulkner is 6. Think about that.
I assume Martyn is playing, right?
If
That's what I
Martyn is
assumed
playing,
so far.
then one of Sinclair and Faulkner is playing, and Sinclair is always on the bench then.
Yeah, he's the 12th man then, isn't it? I assume so.
Yeah. Let me just have a look if there's anyone else. If you don't want Sinclair, then
I want Sinclair.
You can go
Screw
Sinclair.
Varun.
You can pick Sinclair. Yeah.
I'm just
It's
seeing
your
if there's
pick,
anyone
Jarrod.
better. Yeah, but it's our team, guys. It's our team. Yeah,
Come on,
I
Jarrod,
think the
it's-
fact that
This is your
The fact
channel,
that he
Jarrod.
can-
You can do what you want.
the fact that he can slog is helpful.
So the other guy is George Giffen, who captains Australia in 31 matches. He averages 23 with
You
the
just sing
bat.
syllables at this point, Jarrod, to me. Like,
He averages 27 with the ball. He's one of the first bowling captains in the world, really.
Okay.
Back to bat as well. But let's go Jimmy Sinclair. Jimmy Sinclair's
let's-
more fun. George Giffen would just bowl like 1,000,000 overs a game sometimes. He was like a proper bowling captain. He probably ruined bowling captains for a generation. So let's go Jimmy Sinclair as our 12th. I just think it gives us more flexibility.
the other thing
Okay,
is going
so-
rogue like Irfan Pathan or something.
Yeah, that was another rogue pick.
Yeah.
In terms of honorary mentions, I just want to throw one out there. I really tried to fit this guy in the team, but he didn't make it. Said Anwar, 4,052 runs in 55 test matches, average 45 home and away, 45 plus home and away, 11 tons, 25 50s, stylish left-handed bat who really should have featured more for Pakistan. He shouldn't even be part of this conversation, right?
Stupid. It's just stupid he didn't play more tests. He was very close to the 50 greatest batters of all time, but he just hadn't played enough.
Yeah. Also, only 4 of his 11 tons come in Pakistan. He has 100 in each of the 4 Sena nations. So I knew the WG Grace would go early, would be Jarrod's first pick. And then Herbert Sutcliffe was for sure getting into this team. So Said Anwar misses out. I think Bobby Peel, Bert Ironmonger, we've mentioned already, right? Spofford, maybe?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I think he's
Spofford
unlucky
misses
not
out.
to be there.
Yeah.
I also
How
had Ryan
about these-
Harris.
I had Ryan Harris as well.
Bruce Reed is the other one, but I think
I
Bruce
had
Reed
Ryan
only
Harris,
does well in
Stuart
Australia.
Clark, and Bruce Reed. I think
Those are
all
all
three
really
of
good
them
ones.
are very, very high up. And Fazal Mahmood.
Yeah, Fazal Mahmood is
Mahmood.
also there. That's
Yeah.
right. He
I think
ends up
when
with less
it was
than
under
150
200
wickets.
wickets, I thought Davidson was a shoo-in, but yeah. It
He
just,
was
it
186
just changed so
wickets.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just changed so much.
We
Yeah.
mentioned Bill O'Reilly before. Obviously, Sid Barnes.
Yes.
Very, very unlucky. You could almost play Sid Barnes in this team ahead of
You
one of
can't-
our 3 seamers.
Can't play Sid Barnes. He doesn't have less than 150 wickets.
Oh, is he above 150? Of course he is. Yeah.
Of course he is.
Okay, good.
Jarrod, there are 2 names that came in my research. They're both Australian players from the pre-1900s. Charlie Turner and JJ Ferris.
Yeah, JJ
They
Ferris. He was
sound-
one of
they
the ones
sound
I was
really
talking about before with the in that sort of Lohmann era, right? They both have very good claims. Also, we have our openers, as you said, but Trumper is another one that would be, Trumper and Clem Hill are probably 2 players that deserve to be looked at. Barry Richards.
Yes, Barry,
Yeah.
of course. How about Adam Voges?
I was kind of hope. It's funny how we've gone
David
we've gone with a random
Doesn't
modern
he?
Western
Doesn't he?
Australian, and we haven't picked Adam Voges. We picked Damien Martyn instead.
Yeah. Crazy.
And one of the other ones I'd like to mention is VJ Merchant, who plays 10 test matches, does he? He averages 47.
Vijay Hazare.
Yeah, both of them really. But I think VJ Merchant...
Ranji.
Well, VJ Merchant, though, averages 70 in first-class cricket and 47 in test cricket. But it's 47 home and away. But yeah, Ranji as well would be another one there. I think all of
As
those
you
guys.
said, the 3 Ws.
All the 3 Ws.
That's on me.
Bob Simpson.
Ooh. How many runs did he make?
Let's just below 5K.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
It's
There's
like
actually quite a...
4,800.
Then you'd have Ted Dexter, Peter May, I would have thought would have been another 5,000 as well.
As Peter May got less than 5K.
Maybe.
I think he does. I think there's a
4.5.
few. Yeah, so I think there's a few others. Let's have a look. We've done most of the bowlers. You did Turn and Peel. Typhoon Tyson is the other one.
Yeah.
If you didn't go Shane Bond, you'd probably go Typhoon Tyson, the other really quick bowler, who sadly, he hardly plays, does he? What's he play? 17 test matches, 76 wickets at 18, and ends up as a cricket coach in Australia. Not ideal.
Damn. Anyway, so Jarrod, let the viewers and listeners know what our 12 looks like and then each of our individual picks before we wrap this up.
W.G. Grace, Herbert Sutcliffe, George Headley, Graeme Pollock, Damien Martyn, Andy Flower, Aubrey Faulkner, Hugh Trumble, Mohammad Asif, George Lohmann, Shane Bond, Jimmy Sinclair. I went W.G. Grace, Aubrey Faulkner, Shane Bond, Jimmy Sinclair. Behram went Andy Flower, George Lohmann, Graeme Pollock, Damien Martyn. Varun went Herbert Sutcliffe, George Headley, Mohammad Asif, and Hugh Trumble. It'll be an interesting one to see what people vote on, seeing the vast majority of people will have no idea who any of these people are.
Which is why we couldn't have done this podcast without you. But anyway.
I mean, also, 3 good picks.
Have we ever had a Crickpicks with only one Asian cricketer before?
Ooh. I don't think so. We might
so
never
when
have
you went
created
Martyn, I thought that was the good time to get in VJ Merchant. Right? Because he could have batted at number 5. And so we could have, and then Fazal Mahmood is also unlucky. He could have easily been in ahead of Shane Bond as well.
So the guy who I was thinking for seam bowling all-rounder and knew nothing about was this dude named Billy Barnes.
Billy Barnes.
51 wickets in 21 test matches, right arm, medium fast, and then he also scored 752 runs. No clue who the dude is.
Let's have a look. What year did he play? 1880, 1890. So he played for a decade. I mean, I've come across his name. I don't know all that much about him. His record
he's batted everywhere, looks like.
Yeah. I to be fair, in those days, I think that was pretty common.
Yeah. He could be the father of Bucky Barnes, given the eras. Only Marvel fans will get that joke. But anyway.
Only Marvel super nerds will get that joke.
No. The casuals will get it as well, Jarrod. Anyway, he's the guy who Captain America is buddies with, dude, who has that.
I know who he is.
Oh, you know? Oh, anyway.
Sebastian Stan.
Yes, exactly.
The Winter Soldier at one point.
Yes. Oh, damn, you guys know everything. Who also, by the way, Sebastian Stan played Donald Trump in a movie recently. I watched that.
I know. It's very it's a weird choice. That's the sort of thing where everyone's like, oh, it's a great movie and everything. And I'm like, yeah, but Donald Trump's going to be really happy that an attractive person has played him.
Yeah. Anyway, that wraps up this episode of the Crickpicks podcast. Do let us know who you think wins this one and what sort of team you could come up with, given the parameters of less than 5,000 runs and less than 150 wickets. And just a quick reminder, you can go to goodareas.co and bookmark that webpage. That could prove to be your one-stop shop for all the fun work that we do as part of this team, whether it be written content, videos, or podcasts. We'll see you soon enough in the coming week. And that's all for today, folks. Have a good one and goodbye.
Ross Taylor couldn't see at night or when the clouds were in. Eventually, he had to see an eye specialist who would fix his eyesight. In the 2 years before the change, he still averaged more than 50 in international cricket. The top level of batting talent can basically see in the dark. That is who we are talking about in our new book, The Art of Batting. Head over and order your copy today.